Well, I think the president is putting what he likes to put, the maximum pressure on Iran. And let me tell you the way I think about it. I believe he's pursuing a policy of telling Iran what are your priorities. Priority of keeping the regime or priority of keeping the nuclear program. So you have to decide. I think this is the way he's doing it. Although I would say there is a certain degree of ambivalence. He doesn't say, I want to strike, I don't want to not strike. And he doesn't say, I don't want to meet with you at all. No, he kind of, he comes from different angle. But this is the message. The message is about, okay, Iran, decide. You have to decide what you are going to take care more about, your regime or your nuclear program. And this is what's boiling down to. Yes, yes, and he will say that. But don't forget, President Trump, if you see, he has a certain way, he put maximum pressure. And if he feels that there is, that Iran is going to concede, for example, on the nuclear program, on the ballistic missiles, he said, okay, then we'll talk, we'll meet. So this is what I expect from him, because this is not the first time he does it. Okay, Iran, you have to consider one thing from their own perspective, according to them, and according to the supreme leader, Khamenei. He says, listen, we are having a nuclear civilian program. So they don't say that we are going to build a nuclear weapon, but all indicators lead us to believe that there is certain double standard there, and that they are pursuing a nuclear program by enriching the uranium, and that enrichment will allow them to go ahead and weaponize the nuclear program. The nuclear issue has been early on with Iran, and it's part of its ideology. It's part of its what we call raison d'etre. Mainly, it's part of the regime, and early on. And something about Iran, and especially the lessons that they learned from the Iran-Iraq war. They need deterrence, and their deterrence thus far have been ballistic missiles, but also they would like, as I see it myself, more of a deterrence, which is really the nuclear weapon. Nuclear weapon, once a country acquire nuclear weapon, it's kind act at a neutralizer. And of course, they look at Iraq, they look at Libya, and they say, look what happened to them, especially Libya. Libya gave in, its nuclear program, but then, the Gaddafi regime ended up being ousted. So this is where Iran is, The nuclear program has been early on integral to the regime. It's part of its legitimacy, and it's part, again, of deterrence, but also it's part to allow Iran to project its regional power. And now Iran really is facing the time where it has to decide whether you are going to keep the regime or whether you are going to keep the nuclear program. All right, well, United States might be involved, yes. And the indicator, although he is taken, as I mentioned, an ambivalent position, somehow certain indicators, which I see, and I hope I am wrong, it's more leaning toward being involved. Regarding the bomb, probably, this biggest bomb that we have, you have two reports about it. Some reports that comes, they say it can go and destroy up to 60 meters down, mainly. And some would say, it will not be able to destroy, for example, Fordo nuclear plant because it's 80 meters underground. Now you have others reports, mainly, and I'm no military strategist, that will say, look, what you can do is that you cannot bomb them or throw one bomb. You throw several bombs. And in this way, if we are going to be involved, you absolutely destroy all the nuclear plant, especially Fordo and Natanz. All right. I did not say that that United States will not get involved. I said this question is open, and this question mainly is with the president. And you have to understand something about the President Trump. We as analysts and me as a professor, he is very unconventional and he's unpredictable. But what you can say, you look at the indicators, and the indicators allows me to believe that he's leaning more toward getting involved in the war. Now, if Iran comes forward and say the nuclear program and the ballistic program, yes, you may have a way out of the war, and the president will speak with Netanyahu and will tell him stop it now. Because after all, this is what Israel wants. And Israel already has really dealt, I would say myself, a severe blow to the Iranian regime. And here when I mentioned the Iranian regime, I mentioned the different agencies, the different structures, the overall bureaucracy of the Iranian regime. Yes. Well, I mentioned that this is his way of being ambivalent. Now, really, if you look at the indicator, what is he doing? We are going to have, and I'm not spokesperson for the Trump, we are going to have 3 aircraft carrier. We already have 40,000 troops. You have bomber there. You have jets there. You have THAAD missiles there, mainly in the region. I'm not talking in Israel. I'm talking in the region. So he is preparing himself for the eventuality if he takes a decision to get involved in the war and bomb Iran's nuclear plants. It's similar, not same, similar. It's similar scenario, yes, because neither United States nor Israel will allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. That's about it. So it's similar. And although we went to Iraq, it was mainly under false pretext. He had already dismantled the nuclear program and he did not have weapons. But you have to consider one thing. In the 1980s, let's not forget, Israel carried out an attack on Iraq and destroyed Iraq's nuclear plant when Reagan was president, when Ronald Reagan was president. I see the only person who's going to stop it is one person, and he's President Trump. President Trump would like to project himself as the man of the hour, the man who will have the final decision in war and peace. And from his perspective, he believes that his last word will be the final word. This is the way I see his personality. No, you have many problems in the Middle East. Listen, the Middle East is rich in civilization, rich in diversity, and rich in problems. Really. I was born in Lebanon, and I know the Middle East. I studied about Iraq. I studied about the Kurds. I studied about the Syrians. So really, you have many problems in the Middle East. So, but regarding Iran, if Iran stops its nuclear program and it stops its development of ballistic missiles, I think that the war will stop. And this is something, when I mentioned it, it's very, very difficult for Iran to do. But as I mentioned early on, the time is not on their side, especially if United States is going to get involved. And let me reiterate, mainly my position is that President Trump today, he's preparing United States for being involved, but also at the same time, he's giving Iran a choice between keeping the regime or keeping the nuclear program. I can tell you this, and I can speak firmly. Neither Iran nor Russia will be involved in giving Iran weapons. You are not going to see that. You are not going to see it. China hasn't done it before, and it will not do it. And true, Russia has a strategic cooperation with Iran. But I don't think Russia will do that because Russia today is in a very sensitive position. Why? Because it needs to stay and to have somehow a good relationship with President Trump, given the war in Ukraine. No, it's mainly Russia who's helping them, but Russia will not come and introduce, for example, a brigade. It will not come and introduce, for example, the S-400. And I'm going to tell you one thing. You know, in April 2024, when Israel destroyed many platforms for Iran's ballistic missiles, many platforms. Now, you ask yourself this question: why Russia did not give Iran the sophisticated S-400 missiles? They gave him the S-300 missiles, and Israel destroyed them. So after their destruction, why, ask yourself this question, why Russia did not give Iran, its ally, sophisticated air defense missiles that are the S-400? And why is that? Because it has to be careful on account that will have certain repercussions, certain consequences with its relationship with the United States, and especially with the Trump administration. Russia needs to keep a channel of diplomacy, a channel of communication with President Trump and his administration. Listen, I have different scenario myself. I think if you listen today at the statement of the Supreme Leader and the Foreign Minister, they have two different statements. The statement of the Supreme Leader, he took a strong statement. He said, listen, you know, we cannot be dictated by anybody. Look at our history. Look at what we have been through. We are not gonna be surrendering. This is what he's saying. On the other hand, if you listen to the Foreign Minister, Arakji, he had a conciliatory tone. Said, listen, you know, we have taken defensive position, and we are ready to go and resume the negotiation. What I believe myself, mainly it's the Supreme Leaders that will decide. And at this time, I don't think the Supreme Leader is going to concede. Why? If you look at his statement, and if you look at how they perceive themselves, they believe that there was something of kind of we're not happy with how President Trump spoke with them. It seems that they feel they were insulted. It was kind of an insult. It was kind of, oh, you have to have complete surrender. I don't think this will sit down well with the Supreme Leader. And this is why we have to see. We have to see the escalation. We have to see what's going to happen on the ground. And what's going to happen on the ground, and it's going to be happening soon, you know, will decide how Iran is going to go. From President Trump's perspective, he feels that if you don't act soon, you're going to lose. Who's going to be with them? They have friends, but nobody is going to come and fight on their side. Who? Let's not forget, Iran really, it has pursued a spoiler, I would say, policy in the region. It had its friend, it had its proxy, it had Hezbollah, Hamas, you know, Syrian regime. They're all gone. You know, those proxy of Iran, they were defeated. Really, and now if you want to look, there is only Al-Hashd al-Sha'bi in Iraq. And this is where, you know, it's a variable. You know, what could happen vis-a-vis Al-Hashd al-Sha'bi if United States gets involved and Iran asks them, mainly those pro-Iranian groups in Al-Hashd al-Sha'bi, if to ask him to go ahead and fight on their side. But for countries, you are not going to have any country fighting on Iran's side. They will probably support it, you know, diplomatically. but they will not support it militarily. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're welcome anytime. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Thank you.